Episode 10 of Understanding Perspectives. In this installment, I'm going to be talking about two views of hell and their understanding of Revelation 14, 10, and 11. They too will drink the wine of God's fury, which has been poured full strength into the cup of his wrath. They'll be tormented with burning sulfur and the presence of the holy angels and of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment will rise forever and ever. There'll be no rest, day or night, for those who worship the beast and its image, or for anyone who receives the mark of its name. Okay, so the eternal conscious torture advocates, they say this verse is plain. It says that the smoke of their torment will rise forever and ever, and they're going to have no rest day or night. So what else could this mean except what is plainly stated, that if the smoke of their torment rises forever and ever, then surely the fire that's burning them is going on forever and ever, and surely the people must be in there suffering all this time consciously, or else what's the point of saying that the smoke is going to rise forever and ever, and that they're not going to have any rest day or night? It's just plain on the face of it. So how do people that believe in conditional immortality or annihilation, how do they understand this verse? They can see why the people who believe in eternal conscious torture think what they think about this verse, but they realize that it doesn't state plainly that people will be conscious for eternity, or that the fire is going to be burning them for all eternity. Maybe they think that it will last at least a day and a night, if not much longer, but that the smoke rises forever and ever doesn't necessarily, from their perspective, indicate that the duration of the person's conscious experience in this place is going to be eternal. So the reason that they think this, at least partly, is because of what it says in Isaiah 34, starting in verse 9, which says, Edom's streams will be turned into pitch, her dust into burning sulfur. Her land will become blazing pitch. It will not be quenched day or night. Its smoke will rise forever. From generation to generation, it will lie desolate. No one will ever pass through it again. The desert owl and screech owl will possess it. The great owl and the raven will nest there. God will stretch out over Edom the measuring line of chaos and the plumb line of desolation. Her nobles will have nothing there to be called a kingdom. All her princes will vanish away. Thorns will overrun the citadels, nettles and brambles her strongholds. She'll become a haunt for jackals, a home for owls. Desert creatures will meet with hyenas, and wild goats will bleat to each other. There the night creatures will also lie down and find themselves places of rest. This is kind of a weird passage because the context indicates that it's about the destruction of Edom and a whole lot of animals and thorns and thistles and nettles growing up in their place where their kingdom was after they're destroyed. But it uses this language about smoke rising forever and the fire not be quenched day or night. And so if you were to just take that part about the fire not being quenched day or night and about the smoke rising forever, you might think that this was about the final judgment of the nation of Edom after the resurrection. But nobody that I know of thinks that these are all asbestos animals running around in hell. People generally agree, if they've looked at this passage, that this is about a judgment on the earth that took place hundreds of years before Jesus came. The reason that the people who believe in conditional immortality will point to this verse is that they think that John is alluding to it in Revelation 14 by using the same kind of imagery that Isaiah used. So when Isaiah was talking about the destruction of Edom, he talked about smoke rising forever and that the fire will not be quenched night or day. And John says essentially the same thing. Smoke of their torment will rise forever and ever, and they'll have no rest day or night. And so given that John's audience, the early Jews, would have been very familiar with the Old Testament since that was what their Bible was, and they were just then receiving the New Testament, they would have, a lot of them anyway, would have been familiar with Isaiah 34. And because Isaiah used this imagery about the destruction of the nation of Edom, they might have found it pretty strange for John to allude to that passage by using the same terminology if John's purpose was to say that the wicked will be kept conscious to experience eternal pain. If that was what he was trying to say, then this is a weird way to say it to his audience. And so because of all the other passages in Scripture that indicate that the end of the wicked is going to be death, destruction, perishing, or being killed, and because of the many metaphorical descriptions of what it's going to be like for the wicked when they face their end, in the Old Testament describing them in terms like broken pottery, or like chaff that blows away in the wind, or chaff that's burned in the furnace, or smoke that vanishes, or a snail that melts, or it'll be as if they had never been, or they'll be like a dream that you can't remember after you wake up, or that there will be neither root nor branch left of them, but they'll be completely consumed. Because of all those passages, they think that they have a lot of reasons to think that the wicked are going to be destroyed. And this relatively small number of passages, like this one in Revelation 14, that on the face of them sound like eternal conscious torture. And when they find passages like this one in Isaiah 34 that use the same sort of imagery that John uses in Revelation 14, but in the context that it's clearly talking about the physical destruction of a nation, then they see how that you could read passages like Revelation 14 and understand them to mean permanent destruction, even though on the face of them it's very vivid imagery that actually does sound a lot like people will be tortured forever. But they say that no, it doesn't actually mean that, even though maybe it would sound like that at first blush. So Hopefully that makes sense how these different groups think about these passages. God bless you.